or their truth will find them. And for me,
Well,
that was laying in a coma for 6 months
there it is.
and
Wow.
understanding. Stop trying to fit everyone else's description of you because you wear so many hats as it is.
Right, right.
Be the you that you want to be and start living your life.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's where my life began.
yeah.
I ain't saying it's going to be easy, but I'm living my own life and I'm responsible for my own decisions. And my children are grown. I have one 15-year-old left. And when he's out,
Mm-hmm. There it is.
I'm going to be either left hating myself or loving myself.
No,
I
I
choose
think
to love myself.
yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
All right, darling, we've been recording. So,
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm
oh, I
glad we're
learned my
talking
lesson.
real
I
talk.
learned.
It's like, wait a minute. You go right in. I was like, let's go right in.
That's it. Okay. Good evening and welcome to ESP Speaks. I'm so happy to have you back and I'm so energized about this show. As you can already see, I have not followed my normal format of having our guests to the side until we're ready. Why? Because I am just so excited about having our brother Che Johnson back with us. He is a psychotherapist, has been listed as one of the top associates with Psychology Today. And I am excited that he's taking the time to connect and talk with us as a family. Now,
Yes.
let me let you know, because I'm going to step back and let him talk. So I want to make sure I get all of the finer points out here of what I've got to say to you. I need you to really hone in and listen to what he's saying to you today because there's an opportunity that's going to be afforded to you in the next couple of weeks where he has offered to go live with me and have you come on with your questions and have you speak to him directly. Now, you know, I do dial ins, I do call ins, so no one is seeing and you don't have to divulge your identity. But I'm also going to give a gift to the brave ones of Zoom, where
All
you'll be
right.
able to come on with us and have a session of sorts or arrange a session. So,
Sure.
this is about enlightenment. This is about fulfillment. This is about taking a hold of your life and moving forward. Please, 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 family, take advantage of the gift that's being given to you. Without any further ado, I am so thrilled to have back Shay Johnson.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you for that introduction.
Oh,
I'm so happy to be back. This really, it feels like family. We go back and didn't even know we went that far back, right? Back to high school. So you got ESP and ABC. We go back like 1, 2, 3.
we gonna start singing in a minute. Stop.
Right?
Wait a minute. Oh
Man.
my goodness. So when we were here last, we talked about a myriad of subjects. And those of you who haven't watched the last show, go back and watch the last show. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. You know all of my platforms. I'll list them for you. But we can't get involved with that. I want to get to Che. we were talking about a variety of different subjects, but this time around, I want to hone things in on very specific issues. Number one, the costs of therapies, because a lot of
Mm,
people are afraid to approach therapy based on the fact that they think it's expensive, number one. And if their medical insurance doesn't cover it, they're not going to do it. So
mhm.
we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how to tap into it regardless of whether you have the coverages or not, because there are different ways to approach this. My mama
Yes.
used to say there are 12 ways to skin a cat. I know 13 of them.
Well, there it is.
The next thing that I want to talk about is, and after this, you're not going to hear my voice except for a commercial break. We're going to talk about what are some of the taboo issues that the Black community needs to heal from and what they're afraid of with when they're discussing psychotherapy and the idea of it. All right, so it's my time to shut up. I
Wow.
give him as a gift. I couldn't give a greater gift to you than your mental health. Che Johnson, family.
Wow. I just love and appreciate you so much. And I just
Thank
appreciate that
you.
we're this community right here. I'm glad to be a part of it. Really, just yeah. Um, you know, let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts, right? Cost, right? The cost of therapy. Therapy can be expensive, and it can also be difficult to access. What what's happening now is because so many therapists are being trained, you can work with people who are in school getting their hours or people who are out of school finishing their hours, right?
Mhm.
And you can get a lot of reduced prices for therapy. So that, like, I have been at Southern California Counseling Center for 2 years, right? And now I'm in private practice working with in Just Be Therapy, right? Supervised by Barbara Herring. So my private practice is going to be more expensive, but for those people who I was assigned clients at Southern California Counseling Center in Los Angeles, you know, some people are paying $1. Some people are
Mm.
paying $5, 25, 35, $50 a session. But your private practice is going to be a lot double that. It's going to be around 100 a session. And what you can do is your community psychotherapy is very, very effective. Um, the There's issues. There's a trade-off. When you go to someone in private practice, you can kind of like look for what you want. We talked about how important it is as people of color to have people of color therapists, right? At a certain time in your life, you might need that, and other times you might not need that.
And
So,
sometimes you need someone of the same orientation because there are a
yes,
lot of LGBTQ
absolutely,
who need to speak
absolutely,
to a direct subject. So sorry to interrupt.
absolutely. Yeah, please. That's you just adding right into the mix. I feel like, yeah, and also sometimes a woman needs a woman therapist. Like you said,
Definitely.
a queer person needs a queer therapist sometimes, and sometimes you don't. It really depends. So it's now a lot of these centers are getting more savvy and understanding about the fact that, yeah, I need a Black therapist. Like, I have kids that at the center who are my clients, right? And the parents were like, we want a Black man to be our child's therapist, because they understood that there was something very important about this young Black boy seeing a
Mm.
Black man. Okay. So you do have, there are different things you can ask, please ask. So if it, in terms of expenses, the concern, right? You can find affordable therapy. Okay. Now, the other thing is, if you want to pay a little bit more and curate exactly, like, I want this kind of therapist and I'm going to choose it, then you don't necessarily have to see the therapist every week if you're not in a situation that's really dire, where you really just, you want to talk about things and you want to be able to ponder things and think about it. You might be able to go every other week and pay $150 a month, a session, right?
Mm.
Or, so it depends. Couples might want to go every other week just because it's so busy. you know Family therapy might be every other week. So there's different ways that you can do therapy. And what's happening is, so many people who are now engaged as therapists, we really understand the need for this flexibility. That it's actually ethical to be more flexible, especially within our communities of color or other insular communities like queer communities, women's communities, and these all intersect, right? So it's, there's more flexibility. So there's more out there. You can find it. There are many resources. So, I just want to put that out there. And if people want resources, I can absolutely supply you with them.
How is it that they are able to, how do they tap into this? Because
Right.
I know that you're on Psychology Today because you sent me that wonderful write-up and it was marvelous.
Thank
But
you.
in New York, and you're in, by the way, everybody, you're in Southern
Southern
California?
California. So
Yeah.
I can see I'm licensed to see anybody in California. There's also a reciprocity so reciprocal license with Oregon. And I know it's Oregon, but I think it's also like, either Nevada or Arizona. I'm not sure. It might be Nevada. But so in other words, we can practice in California and Oregon, but some people are like a psychologist is nationally, they can see anybody anywhere in the whole country. So it depends. But yeah, let me tell you something. There's so many incredible therapists in the New York City area. I mean, having grown up in New York City and doing therapy as a teenager, as a client in New York City, there's some incredible therapists.
So here's what we'll do in order to address that, because I know one of y'all is going to ask me as soon as the show ends, how do I tap into him? Well, he's already created the guidelines that unless you're on the West Coast or you're in Oregon, did you say?
Oregon, California, yeah.
He can't be your therapist, but that doesn't mean that he can't tap you into other resources around the country.
Yes.
So on the live show, and when you write in, if you give us a specific area, I'm sure I'll be able to get the information to him where he can put you in touch with whom you need to be in touch with. Or maybe he'll have a blanket site that I can put up on our webpage, so look out for that.
Yeah.
Also, while we're on that,
sure.
Let's talk about some really important information, because for people to contact you, I know you have a website, so let's hear your information that you want the general public to have.
Absolutely.
And then that way I'll be so proud of myself that I didn't forget to get it out.
You didn't forget it, right? I know. Usually at the end, be like, wait, the time is up. But get that website in. Yeah. So I'm an associate with Barbara Herring, who supervises me, and she specializes in working a lot with the diaspora of color, and also really with the entire spectrum of sexuality, from the most traditional to the least traditional. And her website is justbtherapy.com, right? So JUST letter B for Barbara, therapy, right? .com. And you can find me there. You can also find me at chejohnson.net. So that's CHEJOHNSON.net, right? So there's different ways to reach me, and you can find out what I offer, and how I do what I do, and things like that. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to let people know about it.
Oh, they're going to use it. Trust me, they're going to inundate you. I know my crowd.
Here it comes.
ESP said go. Boom. They're going to go. So, okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've spoken about costs, we've spoken about insurances and so on and so forth, and those are big issues in the community.
Sure.
As long as you guys go and get it, we'll find a way for you to get it, but just go and get it, because we need this. I can't stress enough how much we need this. There was something that you had said in our last episode that I would love for you to hit again, because it was poignant. It really was poignant, and it stuck with me. You spoke about a book called My Grandmother's Hands. Oh, yeah. I'd like you to talk about that again. And I'm going to put it up in the site so they'll have access to the book, so they know what they're looking for. And you used acronym, JEDI, JEDI.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's play with that for a while, because that was big.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, right? How could you not be, right? And we all know about the Jedi, right? And we got Baby Yoda now, so I'm such a big listen. I'm keeping it quiet, but I am such a Star Wars fan that I even have my own Baby Yoda. Right? Okay. So I'm trying to be cool, but let's face it. So one of the things we talk about is the need for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I'm like, how am I supposed to remember that? Well, it just so happens that, JEDI is the acronym, right? So justice, JEDI, J, justice, E, equity, right? D, diversity, and I, inclusion. And justice is social justice, making economic justice, environmental justice, right? Making sure that things are that we have when there is something done wrong to someone that it's fixed, right? Justice, no peace. Exactly. Equity is so much more important than what we think of, and we think of equality, right? Equality is like, I'm going to give everybody $50, right? But equity is, you got $100 and you got $50 and you got $0. And I got 150 to give out. If I give each of you $50, that's not going to really help the situation. So why don't I give you with 0? I'm gonna give you $100. You got 50. I'm gonna give you 50, and you don't need no money from me because then everybody has 100. So equity is about getting it so that we all have a level playing field, right? And then D for diversity, I think is very clear that we need to start things that we engage in our lives need to start to reflect the diversity of our population, right? We don't see a lot of Asian men in romantic leads, right? We need to start seeing that. That's the diversity, right? We need to start to see that kind of thing. So diversity is important, but diversity is not for its own sake. If you have people still with a mind, you can have a very colored, colorful group of people, and if everybody has the same white supremacist mindset, then diversity is not enough. We need inclusion, and inclusion is inclusion of ideas. We need inclusion of different classes speaking. We need inclusion of people who don't necessarily have education but are very intelligent. We need inclusion of people who are, have physical differences, or they may have a different, they may not be neurotypical. They may have on the spectrum of the autism spectrum, or they may be, we need the inclusion of all these voices. We need to hear people who are in wheelchairs telling us about their experience and what they need. We are all one community. So we need JEDI, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. So, and it's got to be social, it's got to be economic, it's got to be environmental, and it's got to be racial. Unfortunately, race is a construct, but until we have that racial justice, that racial equity, that racial diversity, that racial inclusion, we're not going to be able to do away with. We still have to face the fact that this race story is messing with us. So JEDI is very important. And let me tell you something. JEDI is revolutionizing the way that we do therapy. I don't think it's revolutionized when I do therapy. People of color have been doing it. We have to have these, but now, many, many therapists of every color and stripe are starting to really understand that justice and equity, diversity, inclusion are very important to getting someone's mental health on track, regardless of your color.
One of the reasons why I had you repeat it, and you tapped right on it, I should have known that you were going to tap right in on it. When we were growing up, when I was growing up, and the separation of therapy in the Black community was ever present, we had our own kind of therapist.
Yes.
It was called a mother.
Okay.
And your mama.
And an auntie. Right? Well.
All of those Black women
Right.
executed justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. They
Absolutely.
taught us, and that's why that rang so strongly to me the first time that you said it, because
Mhm.
those were the principles. Even when we were dealing with our brothers and sisters, the justice was everybody got the whooping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know, so that'll teach you. That means you're gonna keep the other people in line, because I'm not trying to get beat because you done messed up. We all gonna get beat. So I'm keeping you in line. You
And the
know.
equity, you all got the quarter. Go get the ice cream. Oh, you dropped yours? Well,
Right.
the diversity, when we were kids growing up, it didn't matter who we played. We just played.
Yep.
We just went out and interacted. And black, white, because, children don't look at
Right.
color.
They don't look at that. Yeah. They talk that. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
what was the last one?
Inclusion is just, yeah.
Your whole family was about inclusion. Everybody was at your house. Everybody was interacting. We grew up in villages, and
Yeah.
Che, those villages don't exist anymore for us.
I know. I mean, we are, well, they do now virtually as we recreate them in a different way.
There you go. We're using
Yeah.
modern technology to rebuild the village. And
Yep.
once again, you tap right into my next thought, because there's one other thing that I want you to talk about, but there's a couple other things in between.
Sure.
Remember, we got to go back to the book.
Uh-huh.
But the tapping into this type of village, where the village leaders are actually the children, because they have the firsthand experience with this technology, and they're teaching us as parents and grandparents how to use it. So the role reversal has changed. And now we're talking to people, we're talking to family members. Actually, I have a cousin that's doing a whole reunion of all of our family because of Zoom.
Right.
We weren't talking to each other on a regular basis through the telephone.
Right.
But now, because of a pandemic, we're having monthly family meetings. So you're really having a reunion every month.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It really is amazing.
It is incredible. It's the silver lining is quite shiny.
You have to be able to find that silver lining. And this is, again, why I have you here. A lot of people are having trouble finding the silver lining in all that's going on. We are positive people. We tend to find the silver lining in things. Pandemic, we're in lockdown. I got several new licenses. I sat and studied. I enhanced a degree.
Right.
I finished 2 more books. We look for the silver lining, but there are also people who have just added to their depression.
Yeah.
There are husbands who were beaters and now are in full-blown battery. There are wives who have never been beaten so severely.
Yeah.
You got a lot of work cut out for you.
Yep.
And now I'm talking to the family members that are listening to us who are choking because now we're pushing 7-8 months of this COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
They don't have jobs. Money's about to run out. Christmas is around the corner. Thanksgiving, they don't have money to buy, to sustain. They're standing on food lines.
Yep.
As a psychologist, what do you say to these people how do we open the door for them to get help?
Yeah.
What do we say to them? Because we have platforms. And when you have a platform, you can't just get on here and have frivolous shows. You really got to do a show that's going to speak to people and give them something. What can I give them?
Right. Well, I tell you what, the inclusion is, I talked about class inclusion and economic inclusion, and if we're not including people who are without homes right now or houseless, right, experiencing houselessness or homeless. I mean, here in Southern California, we have at least 65,000 people who are without homes, without housing. And one of the things that we work hard to do is in the food lines and the services to have, mental health service, because I mean, a lot of this is people have, have had economic situations happen that have created, situations where they no longer have their homes, and then there's depression from that and shock and in the adjustment. And then when you're depressed, it's a lot harder for you to do things to bring yourself up. So those of us who have the privilege of having our homes and having a little bit of free time, it's incumbent upon us to, everybody can do something, whether it's helping out with, I work with mental health, but that's something I can do. But other people can help with food banks, and other people, listen, let me tell you something. We can help politically. We can help by putting the pressure on elected officials to start caring and start taking care of things. We can also put pressure on corporations and stop buying their stuff. If they're not helping out and being part of the solution. But that requires a mindset where you recognize how bad this is and recognize the need to do something about it. And it takes balance too. You got to balance and take care of yourself and take care of others. So you might not be able to do the big gesture, but that doesn't mean you can't do something. Because my daddy used to say, a little bit of something beats a whole lot of nothing, right? Okay.
I think we're related.
I know, right? So I mean, So I think that's a big part of it. And also, when we talked about Resma Menakem's My Grandmother's Hands, one of the things we talked about in the last week was that, when we do cruel things to other people, we hurt our own sense of morality. We traumatize our own sense of right and wrong. We mess up our own integrity and our empathy. And so we have to do work to make that to bring that back. And it requires a little awareness of, and I think we all understand this. A lot of us, we're all stunned by everything that's going on. So it takes time to say, wow, I have to rededicate myself to this.
Okay. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to go headlong into that, because that's a big chunk that we need to discuss. So hang with us. We'll be back with ESP Speaks in a moment, and we're talking with Shay Johnson. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring down in Charlotte like I play for Hornets. When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, finished friends on my face. Looking like I'm from the deep, these no Cartiers. Pockets deep, deep, deep.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Make a wish. I know she ain't about.
Ew.
Oh my goodness.
Please don't do that. Oh no, she ain't.
That's not right.
No bueno.
No cake for me.
Yikes.
Fanta cake is the cool new sanitary way to blow out the candles on your cake.
Make a wish.
I love my Fanta cake.
Fanta cake rock. I want some cake.
That's cool.
Get yours today at fantacake.com.
Hey, anybody want to go shopping with me? I need to pick up some new underwear, and I'm gonna leave soon, so. Wait, didn't you just buy new underwear 2 weeks ago when we went Christmas shopping? Yeah, she did, but she needs some new ones because that ass is getting big. Lavonda, watch it. Watch it? Like those Krispy Kreme donuts you watch going around the microwave every night? You know, you are always in somebody's business. Girl, you know what, Rhonda? I'll go with you because I can pick up some for myself, no problem. Well, make sure she doesn't pick out those granny panties. You know that's all that chick wears. Wait, really? Really? You know, I wear sexy panties, just because it says sexy on the back doesn't mean they are. True. But you guys talking about the butt flossers? Wait a minute, there is nothing wrong with a little thong. Honey, a thong is necessary. Yes, it is, but I don't even wear them anymore. Why not? Why not? Because my ass is getting so big, I don't need it eating anything else. Oh! Okay? It'll be trying to rinse soon, ladies. Come on, Rhonda, let's go.
Sitting here, I can barely talk. This is how excited I am with the guests that I have. We're here with Shay Johnson, and I'm just so fulfilled by this moment of having him on the show. Please, please, please tap in because it's going to be such a benefit to your lives. Anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get back to Shay talking because he's speaking about My Grandmother's Hand, which is a book that, you know what? Let me stop talking. Okay. You're on. Shay Johnson.
Right. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, wow. I have to tell you, this book really struck me because for people of color, he really designed it for us. And he's taken a lot of time. He's really thought about this. And his name is Resmaa Menakem. I actually pulled it up on my phone so I can show you all that. There it is, my grandmother's hand. I'm going to put
this in our site for you too.
Yeah, and then you can do that, right? So there's my grandmother's hands, right? And Resmaa Menakem is his name. Mm-hmm. And he's a social worker, right? Clinical psychotherapist. And, you know, he talks about a lot of things, but one of the things that he talks about in terms of treating the multi-generational trauma that we've had as people of color is he talks about the things that his grandma used to do, how she would hum and she would rock. And so he's developed these things. And what we now know as therapists is when you're rocking, you're going from one side to another side, to one side, to another side. So what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to deal with a problem and then feel into the pleasure and then go back into the problem, feel into the pleasure. So then you start to get this ability to actually hold both things together at the same time. And you build your resiliency and you build your confidence and you connect with your ancestors. And then he talks about humming and all of these somatic things in the body, because this trauma is in our bodies. So how do we work it out through our bodies, right? And I know a sister who is in one of these groups, one of Resmaa Menakem's groups for Black women, and she said something to me that I was so bowled over. I couldn't even believe it. She goes, I practice somatic abolitionism. Whoa. So she's working through the body. She's abolishing the trauma of enslavement. She's abolishing it in her body by doing this work. And he has a whole host of visualization exercises, physical body exercises you can do to move this trauma out of your body. Because we have so much trauma. Look, you know, so many things, so many horrible things have been done to us that we don't even know how to talk about them. They're like almost unspeakable. And so as we work the trauma through, we learn ways to talk about the unspeakable. And that's just touching the surface of what he's doing. He has a program, like I said, for Black folks, for white folks. And he says, I want people to develop more programs for the trauma that the Asian diaspora experience here. And, he and Jewish people. And I mean, he really wants, this is a model that he wants to move forward so that we can work and heal our body. We can abolish from our bodies the trauma of all of these horrible things. And the work that he's doing with cops is incredible. I'm actually going to be working in the city of San Jose soon with law enforcement and working with other therapists to help law enforcement officers to work through some of these major traumas they have, so that they're not going trigger happy on people, and they're able to sit and manage the trauma as they do policing, so that they can actually do something that's different than what they were designed to do, which was to oppress. They can actually learn how to be public safety officers. So this book is very powerful. It's a wonderful tool, and it has a lot of resources.
You know, when you said that, I could see in my virtual eye 25,000 of my listeners going, what on the cop issue? What people don't understand. And as I said, family, I implore you to go back and watch the previous episode with Shay Johnson, because he speaks about how, and I'm going to have him speak about it again, how
it bears repeating.
It's in our DNA, the traumatization. It's not just that we are descendants of slaves. It's not just that our forefathers suffered through the Middle Passage and came to this country and were whipped and tortured into the development of a country that belongs more to us than it does to the people that it services right now. Because all of y'all who want to get on a plane and go back to Africa, we built this country.
We earned it.
Slavery is older than America itself. America is 276 years old. Slavery is over 400 years old in this country. We belong here because we built here. But what he speaks
from
about,
from the tip of South America to the top of Alaska,
all the way up.
Yep.
What he speaks about is the traumatization through the genetics, through the birth process, through the growth process, is embedded in our DNA. So when they say, well, you were never a slave, it's marked in our DNA. We feel it in our DNA, and it has to be addressed from the cleansing standpoint, from inside out.
Yes.
Everybody needs it. Nobody is going to change unless the mind, the body, and the spirit goes through the transformation. So I'm not the therapist.
I appreciate you saying that. Listen, that was perfect, because it really is a mind, body, spirit, emotion. It's a full experience, and it is in our bodies, and also the resiliency is in our bodies.
Yes.
The fact that we have been able to survive this. I mean, I have no problem saying that we are undeniably the most resilient people that have ever walked this earth. The things that we've been through for as long as we've been through them, is just extraordinary. And I think that resiliency is a human trait that every human has. But when you take a certain people and you test it and test it and test it, it's like we grow stronger and stronger, and they keep making it harder. We keep growing stronger. So we are now at a place where enough. It's time to really keep those strengths and strengthen those strengths, and also heal from those traumas.
You know, I'm going to say something to you, and I have very few, in the course of my life, I've had very few opportunities. No, I've chosen very few opportunities to say this out loud, because it didn't seem to me as if it made a difference when I said it. As a people, we are the only people where, when a Black mother realized that she has birthed a Black male child, she cries, because she knows not the joyous life that he's going to live, and he's a male child that's going to dominate. We cry because we know what he has to deal with.
Yeah.
She cried then, and she's still crying now. We are the only people, and I think I can safely say, we're the only people that have been chastised and tortured simply because of one thing: the melanin in their skin.
Yeah.
Chinese people were chastised for other reasons.
Yeah.
Jewish people were chastised for other reasons. We are the only population that cannot change its color
Right.
and cannot live because of its color.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's time for us to deal with the mental destruction that this whole thing that has been laid upon us has caused, because we're not going to change. I'm not changing the color of my beautiful black skin.
No, and you should never, because it's gorgeous. Right.
Why, thank you. But I am going to learn how to mentally balance it in the society that keeps coming after it.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're pure gold. If you were to bottle the melanin in your skin, do you understand that melanin sells for $185 a quarter ounce?
Wow. Wow.
And they use it in suntan lotions. They use it in the beauty industry. They use it for so many things.
Mm-hmm.
So what you hate so much.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, that's right. That's all you have to say. Dot.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brother Che.
Isn't it funny how the thing that's taboo is the thing that is most desired at the same time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I have a mentor in metaphysics, Caroline Casey, and she talks about how the task of Scorpio, she actually talks about Scorpio, the task of Scorpio is to take the taboo and restore it to its sacred function. So you know how we have, like, you know, I think Paul in one of the letters in the New Testament talked about the parts of us that we have to keep more private, require greater care. And he was talking about like how sacred the genitals are, and that because they're sacred, we need to have a respect for them, right? And so, you know, we have like a sexual taboo. And if you really think about it, this is the sacred part of us, right? Where it's we get to express pleasure and love and physical love and reproduction. I mean, it's just like a whole host of things that happen, right? And the taboo is when it's abused, and the sacred, restoring it to a sacred function is like exposing the taboo and healing from the taboo, and then allowing it to take its sacred place again. But I think that's a big thing that, you know, that we are dealing with in our community as well, you know.
There's a lot of unwrapping that we need to do.
I mean, I think about the taboos of I mean, there's a couple of taboos that come to mind for me about being Black, and one of them is that, you know, we had this this version of Christianity foisted upon us, right? Not, you look at Ethiopians who've been Christians from the beginning, right? It's a very different practice of Christianity, right? So we had this version that was foisted upon us, and, you know, we have a lot of taboos about sexuality, but if you go back to pre-colonial Africa, gender was seen very differently. In every single nation in Africa, you had women not only in the military, but they were leaders.
Exactly.
Generally, right? Okay. We had very different concepts about, we didn't have the concept of gay or straight just wasn't a thing. People could just be with people. It wasn't like this was something that was imposed by this heteronormative, everything having to be straight, you know, European version of Christianity. And it's all about controlling women. You know, men have to be with women so they can own them and they can own their offspring. And, you know, a woman being with a woman or a man being with a man messes up that whole system. Because we got to have the women at home working so the men can go out and rape and pillage and steal. Right? Women have to take care of children so men can be free to do all that. So, I mean, you know, we have a taboo because we took on the master's ways because that's what we were taught. And another taboo that we have to deal with is, this is a hard one, honestly, is narcissism. You know, we have been oppressed. The oppressor I mean, you look at the narcissist in chief that is leaving soon, who's crying and kicking and screaming and trying to do a coup to stop, being to keep his position. And you get to see that kind of narcissism where he can't even tolerate not being perfect. He'll lie, cheat, steal, whatever, just to stay in power and have people under him, right?
And the ironic thing was he wasn't perfect to begin with, but I digress.
But nobody is. But the whole idea is that in
his mind,
he has to, right. And so you see, one of the things that you see is that we've been so hurt as a people that very often we end up being, even though we're being hated by the world, in our families will behave in a narcissistic way and will abuse the people we love the most. That there's a certain way we have to be, and this is it, and we're right, and we start oppressing people in our own families. And so one of the big things that we have to work on as Black folks, and I see this all the time, is that I have young Black men come in who have been just assaulted, and Black women and Black people of all genders come in who have been just assaulted by parents who were like monolithic in their Blackness. It had to be this way, and this was the right way, and everything else was wrong. There was no space for them to be who they were. But then they look at their parents and they see the oppression that their parents have experienced and survived. And they think, how can I challenge that? I would be disrespecting their experience. And one of the taboos is we don't have to mimic the oppressor in order to respect the experience of survival that we have endured. So just because somebody, was hurting doesn't mean they get to put that on you.
Yeah.
And that's a big lesson that a lot of us as Black folks need to learn. And it's a taboo because we don't want to talk about it. Listen, we don't want to talk about the pain that we've been through. We don't want to talk about the fact that they would take the strongest Black man and in front of everybody, throw him down, and the white men would rape him, right? Buck breaking, right? Because so much of our fear of homosexuality has to do more with the fact that it was a way to break us, right? So we don't want to talk about that because it's too painful. But in our own spaces, we need to talk about these things, and we need to take that taboo and restore it to its sacred function. And narcissism is one of those things that's really taboo. We've got to find a way to acknowledge our greatness that is not the oppressor's way. Audre Lorde said, you cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools.
Exactly.
So if I'm trying to build up Black folks by putting down certain Black people, well, Black men have to be above Black women, and then gay Black people can't. Is it all Black Lives Matter, or is it all Black Lives Matter? Do trans Black Lives matter? Do queer Black Lives matter? Do Black lives with disabilities matter? Or do mixed Black Lives matter? Do dark-skinned Black Lives matter? Or is it are we just going to pick and choose and recreate a system that's just mimicking the master's system? We start using the master's tools, we're just going to build a little annex or garage or carriage house onto the master's house. And they might let one of us into the cigar room. They might let us in there, but they probably won't, just to go in and clean up.
I was just going to say, to empty the garbage and clean the bathroom.
Well, so I mean, it's like, are we going to do this? We got to put the master's tools down, and we got to fumble around, and then say, oh, the ancestors are here to remind us of our tools. Community, integration, integrity, empathy, caring, love, Jedi, right? Justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. So, let's start using our tools, and let's use therapy. Demand from your therapist that they're a Jedi therapist. And if you don't have a Jedi therapist, you say, then you're not the right one for me. We have to start demanding it. We got to use our tools, not the master's tools, our tools.
Wow. If you left with nothing else from this discussion, leave with that. You have to put down their tools and use your own. Family, there's got to be a balance here, and you control your balance. We are giving you the best tools that we can with this health series. I'm so happy that you tuned in to join us. I am elated that I've had the privilege of having Shay Johnson with us today and last week, and I look forward to having him with us again. Please
I look forward to it too. I can't wait for the question and answers. I can't wait for the question and answers.
Please do the question and answer show.
I mean, ask those hard questions. You know, that's what you ask the questions you're afraid to ask.
I'm going to put a poll up for you this week, and I'm going to put a private email. So if there's something that you want to type, I don't want you to type it out loud, so to speak. I'm going to give you a private email address that you can type and send your questions in. And trust me, I will make sure that he gets them directly. And if needs be, that he feels that something needs to be addressed, he will contact you directly and arrange whatever needs to be arranged for you in whatever state and tap you in. But we have to open the dialogue, and we have to start getting help, because some of y'all are sick and don't even know it.
Well, I know I didn't know it. So, you know, there it is.
And on that note, Shay, I don't even know how to say thank you. You are just an eternal blessing to me. I love you.
I love you.
I look forward to engaging with you again and again. And the time constraint prevents us from going on and on, because you know you and I could be here for hours.
We sure could. We can do and do. You know, next time we have to have some food, you know. That way we can just go on for hours.
I got to get back out to California after all of this is done, because, you know, and it's so funny. My last 4 shows have been with Californians. I had Ayanna Davison out there, and I had you, and we got to just come out and have dinner and end this COVID nonsense already. We're done.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Any last comments for our wonderful family out here?
I just want to tell people, like, we are incredibly resilient, and that does not mean that we are not in a great deal of pain. And one of the lessons, you know, Buddhism talks about, like, that the lotus flower grows in the muddy swamp. It doesn't grow in clear water, right? Mm. It grows in the muddy swamp. It uses all those rich nutrients in that mud to create this beautiful flower. So part of this lesson, you talked about balance before, it really is balance. Mm-hmm. And when you're getting your behind busted by a story about yourself that is not the only story, mm-hmm. Remember that there's another story, and start to and listen for the other part of yourself, the other story inside of you. Listen.
There's a whole nother show coming. I feel it.
Okay, that's a whole nother ball. Yeah.
All right, family. It's been real. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to seeing you next time. We're rolling into the holidays, so I may take a break. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know, because I think with all that's going on with COVID and all of the depression that we're suffering through, I think I might have to have a happy show.
Okay.
So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
That's right.
But in the meantime, you know what I'm going to say. Be positive. Test negative. We'll see you next time on ESP Speak. Have a good day.